Discover the incredible heartwarming journey of a homeless black woman helping a millionaire. The steady rhythm of Sarah's heart matched the pulse of Chicago's South Side. Despite the faded graffiti on crumbling brick walls, her spirit ignited with hope. A fierce 32-year-old black woman, Sarah was a beacon amidst the shadows. Each morning, she woke up on her scratchy blanket beneath the overpass, feeling the warmth of the sun peeking through the concrete jungle. There, she wasn't just surviving, she was living. She made community out of the broken dreams and laughter among her homeless friends, sharing food and stories, creating a makeshift family rooted in love and resilience. Just down the street, high above the clamoring city, sat Mark, a 45-year-old tech millionaire trapped in his glass tower. His sleek luxury car cruised the less-traveled roads, supposedly seeking inspiration, yet he was engulfed in his solitude. From his office, he surveyed the vibrant neighborhood he barely understood. He didn't notice the bright smiles or hear the laughter wafting up from the street below. Instead, he saw issues needing resolution until his car sputtered like a dying star, leaving him stranded in the very heart of those struggles he sought to fix. Mark stepped into Sarah's world, clutching his phone for assistance, when he met her gaze, an honest, piercing look that rattled his assumptions. "Need a hand?" she asked, her voice a comforting song amid the chaos. At first, he saw only a homeless woman, but Sarah was so much more. Inviting him to a nearby vendor, Sarah bought them steaming cups of coffee. As they sipped, she spoke of her dreams, her community's hopes. She made him realize he was hearing raw truths, not the words of a cliché. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Their connection grew amidst laughter and profound realizations, awakening something inside Mark, a call to purpose he hadn't felt before. He launched into a project designed to empower Sarah's community, driven by new insight. But when the employees began to discuss due diligence while overlooking an integral detail, human dignity, he stumbled upon Sarah's unwavering tenacity to protect her neighbor's rightful place in the world. "Respect is key," she snapped at him one evening as tensions swelled between them. Tears glistened in her eyes, the weight of her life spilling into words. In that moment, Mark realized just how deep their barriers ran. Then came the news: a shelter eviction notice had been posted, a bombshell that sent ripples through their community, deepening fears and shaking foundations. It was the moment everything changed. As Sarah's voice thundered during a community meeting, shaking the walls with truth, Mark's heart raced. Here they stood, two souls bridged by an urgent question: could they truly overcome the chasms that the world had forged between them? It was an uncharted territory full of vulnerability and chance, as they both faced the specter of their shattered lives and slowly began to stitch the ragged edges into something new. The community meeting room was packed, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. Sarah stood at the front, each word resonating like a drumbeat, her passion igniting the dormant spirits of those around her. Mark watched, captivated by her strength. He felt a swell of emotion rise in his chest. Here was a woman who fought not just for herself but for every single soul in that room. "Enough is enough," Sarah shouted, her voice steady, piercing through the sighs and murmurs of anxiety. "We deserve more than eviction notices and empty promises. We deserve a home and respect." The crowd erupted into applause, a chorus of empowered voices echoing her sentiments. As she spoke, Mark felt pulled deeper into her world. He saw shadows of his own privilege flickering in the light of her struggle. It began to dawn on him just how blind he had been, holed up in his skyscraper, insulated by wealth and success. He felt a responsibility, one that weighed heavily yet liberating at the same time. After the meeting ended, Sarah caught his eye. "You okay?" she asked softly, stepping closer. Her expression softened, the fire in her eyes dimming just enough to reveal vulnerability. Yeah, it's just, I didn't realize how deep this goes, Mark confessed, running a hand through his hair. I thought I was helping. I didn't know I was missing the point. You are so strong. Hope and guilt danced in his chest. Strength isn't enough alone, she replied, folding her arms. It takes more than willpower to change lives. It takes understanding. We can't move forward without that. Mark paused, her words clanging like a bell in his mind. He had resources, he had connections. But they meant nothing if he didn't have the genuine heart behind them. As they walked out together, the night wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. The vibrant city lights flickered, mirroring the heaviness in the air. Sarah pointed to various buildings, telling him stories that echoed her history and her dreams. Mark hung on every word, envisioning the potential they both held. She could ignite change, and he could provide the means to elevate it. Tell me what you really need, he urged, his resolve solidifying. Her brow furrowed, eyes searching his for sincerity. We need support that doesn't come with strings attached. Real partnerships. You can't just throw money at a problem, Mark. He nodded, feeling an intense rush of gratitude. I promise to listen, really listen. The two slowly forged a partnership, a journey ahead that neither had anticipated. The cracks in their lives began to mend, each step forward tethering them closer together. But as conversations turned serious, a tense message lit up Mark's phone. An influential figure in the tech industry was eyeing Sarah's community project, but it came with a heavy price, a compromise on Sarah's vision of dignity and respect. Compromise? What are they thinking? Mark muttered, fingers trembling with the urgency of a decision that could alter everything. Sarah's face fell, and for a moment fear loomed between them, threatening the bond they had started to forge. Would he choose to chase corporate approval over the integrity of the very community he wanted to help? As Mark looked up, eyes meeting hers, the weight of the decision hung between them like an unspoken promise. He could feel the fate of both their worlds resting in the balance. Would he let down the woman who inspired him, who had become so invaluable to him? We can't break the promise of respect, he whispered. In that instant, everything seemed to hinge on those words. What would he choose? The answer was coming, but like a storm brewing on the horizon, it would be anything but easy. Mark stood frozen, the glow from his phone illuminating the tension carved into Sarah's features. The news was a warning, a toxic temptation that clashed violently with the ideals they had just started to build. He could feel the temperature of the room shift, the air thick with uncertainty. What do you want to do? Sarah asked, her voice quiet but edged with urgency. He could sense her expectations resting squarely on his shoulders. This wasn't just about a project anymore, it was about integrity, trust, and something far deeper that he hadn't realized he was longing for. I want to fight for your vision, he said firmly, conviction igniting in him like a match to kindling. What do we stand to gain from their money if it comes with strings attached? We can't sacrifice your community's dignity. That's non-negotiable. Her expression softened, but anxiety lingered in her eyes. It's easy to say that now, but money talks, Mark. Without it, what do we have? He felt the ache of truth in her words. The reality was grim. They needed funds to take their plans to the next level, to transform lives that had been walked over for far too long. But at what cost? Maybe we can find other ways, he suggested, determination building inside him. He started to pace, brainstorming possible connections that didn't require compromising their values. I've got resources. Let me reach out to some contacts who understand community empowerment. We can approach this differently. Contacts? She scoffed lightly, but the tension in her shoulders eased ever so slightly. How long do you think that would take? We could lose the momentum we've built. Then let us not lose it. The words burst out of him, fueled by a passion that felt foreign and exhilarating all at once. He gripped the edge of the table between them, heart racing. Let us gather more supporters, let us build a network from the ground up. We can show them that the community won't back down. Her brow furrowed, doubt wrestling with willingness. It's going to be hard, Mark. Fighting a system that has rivers of money. I understand the risk, but it's essential, he pressed, meeting her gaze firmly. This is about more than just finances. It's about building something real, something that stands against exploitation. Silence hung in the air, heavy and thick, but slowly, Mark could see the flicker of hope dance back in her eyes. You really believe we can do this? I do, he said, sincerity radiating from him. She needed to feel it. We can be a beacon. You've already sparked a movement here tonight. Imagine what we could do together. You're inspiring people just by being you. A smile began to emerge, threading warmth into the cold of uncertainty. It lit her face, chasing away shadows. You really believe that? Absolutely. He replied, a grin spreading across his face. Let us disrupt things. Let us show them that we can create a path that honors people and their dignity. Sarah stepped closer, the space between them electric. All right, let us do this, but I need you to promise me something. No matter how tough it gets, never lose what you've learned. This isn't just a project, it's a fight for community. I promise, he vowed, the weight of their new alliance settling like an anchor in his heart. But as they exchanged ideas and hopes, Mark's phone buzzed again. The name on the screen sent a shiver down his spine. An old mentor, someone who always pushed him toward success that frequently required sacrifices. Are you up for a meeting? The message read, casually cryptic but loaded with implications. Mark hesitated. Would he keep his word to Sarah, or would he be drawn back into the allure of corporate influence? The struggle ahead was going to test every inch of his conviction. He looked up at Sarah, a new storm brewing within him. There's something I need to tell you. What was he going to choose? The next steps loomed dark before them, a crossroads he never anticipated. Would he uphold the promise of respect or let ambition take the lead? Mark's heart raced as he tried to meet Sarah's eyes. The weight of his phone in his hand felt like a lead ball, dragging him down. For a fleeting moment, temptation wrapped its fingers around him, whispering sweet things about opportunity and success. Yet, all he could think about was the promise he just made to Sarah. Mark? Her voice pulled him back. What is going on? He inhaled deeply, feeling the air fill with possibility and uncertainty. My mentor he wants me to meet. This could be a game changer for us. The words tasted bitter on his tongue. Could he even say that out loud? Game changer? Sarah's brow knitted together in confusion. What kind of game are we talking about? He could feel the trust in her eyes, the expectations bustling within her hope. I mean, he has connections. He could open doors. But there's a part of me, a big part, that feels like it could lead us back down a path we swore to avoid. Every choice has a consequence, doesn't it? Sarah replied, crossing her arms, as if she could shield herself from what they might face. You have to think about what that would mean for both of us. For the project. For the community. The community. The mere mention sent sparks of motivation through his veins, reminding him why they were doing this in the first place. I don't want to compromise what we're building, he said, voice unwavering. But I don't want us to miss this opportunity, either. Sarah leaned against the table, her eyes piercing through him. It feels like we're at a fork in the road, Mark. One way leads to quick money, but it might cost us everything we care about. The other? She paused, searching his face for understanding. It's the long, hard fight tooth and nail for every bit of trust and support we can scrape together. Pain tightened in his chest. He imagined the faces of those they wanted to help, families struggling to make rent, kids dreaming of brighter futures. I've fought my whole life to be successful. I want to help this community too. But I can't do one without losing the other. And I don't know if I can live with that. Feeling the weight of the moment, Sarah stepped closer, her voice lowering to a whisper. Then let us forge our own path. We don't have to sacrifice those dreams. If it means looking for the hard way, then let's look for other ways to gather support. I believe in you, Mark. The sincerity in her voice made his heart swell. Okay, he finally said, determination solidifying within him. I'll postpone the meeting. We'll brainstorm more ideas together. Just then, Mark's phone buzzed again, a new message from his mentor. Meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't keep me waiting. He cursed under his breath, the anxiety threatening to pull him back into its grasp. I don't want to lose you to him, Sarah said softly, concern lacing her words. No. He met her gaze, fierce and unwavering. I'll fight for this. For us. I promise. As they both took a breath, the room hummed with renewed energy. They were different than before. They had formed a bond, a commitment not only to each other but to the community. A tide of hope washed over them. But just then, Mark's phone buzzed again, and an unexpected name popped up, uncertain and eerie compared to their vitality in the moment. Is that? Sarah hesitated, eyes widening. Mark's stomach dropped as he read the message. It was an invitation from a higher authority, one he never thought would reach out to him. Would this be a chance to gain the support they desperately needed, or a final push toward the edge of compromise? As the weight of this new dilemma threatened to crush their hope, Mark knew they hadn't just reached a crossroads, they were standing at the edge of a cliff. Sarah, I think we need to make a decision, and soon. A storm was forming, and it would either pull them together or tear them apart. Mark stared at his phone, the message shimmering in front of him like an unwelcome specter. Each pulsing vibration felt like a drumbeat commanding his attention, pulling him from the warmth of the moment shared with Sarah. What does it say? Her voice, cautious yet curious, pierced the tension in the room. It's from the mayor's office. Mark's heart sank further as he spoke. They want to discuss our community project. They're interested in what we're doing. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Mark could see the wheels turning in Sarah's mind. Her lips pursed, and he caught the flicker of hesitation. And that's good, right? I mean, they want to meet you, she replied carefully, as if testing the air. Yeah, but he trailed off, anxiety creeping in. Do they really want to help, or is this just a way for them to control the narrative? We could lose our vision if we play ball with them. Or it could be the support we need to make a real impact, Sarah countered, her brows furrowed. This is a chance to amplify our voices inside the system instead of against it. A flurry of thoughts rushed through Mark's mind. The past wrestled with his present, the oppressive feeling of powerlessness was something he fought against. As they navigated this new choice, he felt the surge of what could be lost if they weren't careful. What if he walked into that meeting and lost himself? Maybe we could outline what we need before we go in, Sarah suggested, her tone steadying like a lighthouse in a storm. This could be our moment. A way to rise beyond the struggles while keeping our mission intact. But the gnawing doubts clawed at him. What if we don't get to keep the project our way? What if we go in there, all starry-eyed, and come out with shackles instead? Sarah stepped closer, her eyes warm like the light breaking through clouds after a storm. Then we stand firm. We've built this from nothing, Mark. We can navigate through anything together. The passion in her voice reignited the fire in his heart. He nodded, feeling a sense of camaraderie swell between them. Okay. We don't let them dictate our terms. We go in prepared. We know what we want for this community. Sarah smiled, her confidence igniting his own. Just then, Mark's phone buzzed again, and he winced, as if bracing for impact. Ignoring the noise, he turned back to Sarah. Let us take a night to think through our agenda. We can outline what we want to achieve in that meeting. Agreed. Her eyes sparkled with a fierce determination that set his own heart racing. Still, in the back of his mind, he couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. Would they truly be able to navigate this maze without losing sight of their vision? As they gathered their thoughts and began to devise their strategy, a flicker of uncertainty crept back in. What if the odds weren't in their favor? What if this was bigger than either of them could manage? Mark felt the weight of their aspirations pressing down hard. The road to change was littered with distractions, and now they stood at yet another fork. Let's make sure we stay true to ourselves, no matter what. Sarah's words were like a lifebuoy in rough seas. As they launched into brainstorming, Mark felt a pulse of hope flare within him. Yet as their ideas bounced off each other, a surge of doubt roared back, leaving him questioning everything. Sarah? He said slowly, the uncertainty flickering within. What if we're not prepared for what they're about to throw at us? The room felt charged as they exchanged a glance, both knowing deeper conversations were still ahead. With the future uncharted, they locked eyes, and a silent understanding formed. A promise made. Whatever happens, we do this together, she whispered, the sincerity wrapping around them like a hug, though a storm loomed on the horizon. As Mark turned back to his phone, the final message yet to be opened still weighed heavy with unanswered questions. What awaited them in that meeting could shatter their dreams or, just maybe, propel them into something larger than they'd ever imagined. Another buzz from the phone. Mark, please open it. And there it was, their pivotal moment clawing at the edges of their reality. Mark's hand hovered over the screen, fingers trembling slightly, a mixture of excitement and dread bubbling inside him. He had always prided himself on being in control, but this moment felt different. Almost primal. He could feel Sarah's gaze on him, a quiet encouragement, urging him to take the plunge. Okay, here goes nothing, he murmured, finally swiping to reveal the message. The text was brief but heavy with implication. A meeting time had been set tomorrow at noon. His heart raced as he processed the stark simplicity of it. A flurry of questions raced through his mind, each one sharper than the last. What if the mayor expected something he wasn't ready to give? They want to meet, it's real, Mark noted, his mind spinning, unable to fully grasp the magnitude of it all. And we want to be ready, Sarah said, her voice a steady anchor in a rising tide of anxiety. Let's think this through, write down what matters most. They got to work, flipping through notes and brainstorming ideas, trying to pull together their collective vision for the community project. Mark felt the spark of passion lighting up in his chest, though it simmered beneath layers of worry. Okay, Sarah began, pen in hand. What's our priority? Community needs, right? Definitely, Mark replied, his voice gaining strength. We need to put the spotlight on housing access and the importance of mental health support. That's where we make a difference. As they jotted down notes, time slipped away, and somewhere between excitement and fear, Mark felt a shift within himself. The more they talked, the more he understood how deeply he cared about their mission. This was bigger than either of them. This was about people, about lives intertwined with hope and struggle. There's something special here, Mark, Sarah said softly, glancing over the notes. We're building a movement, not just a project. We have a story they need to hear. It sounded right, almost poetic, and for a moment, Mark envisioned it, the community thriving, stories of resilience woven together into something beautiful. But as soon as that thought bloomed, it was shadowed by a new fear. What if they don't see it that way? What if they just see dollar signs? He asked, the worry creeping back. That's why we stand our ground. We won't let them reduce this to numbers on a spreadsheet, Sarah replied, her voice firm. Passion can't be measured, but impact can be felt. If we stay true to our mission, Mark nodded, feeling her determination wash over him like a gentle wave. At that moment it became clear this meeting wasn't just a chance to impress powerful figures, it was an opportunity for them to stand tall, fiercely advocating for what they believed in. You're right, he admitted, a lighter feeling settling in his chest. Mark glanced at the time. Midnight had slipped by unnoticed. They poured themselves into this, and a sense of purpose had enveloped the room, pushing aside doubt. Just one more thing, Sarah said, her eyes brightening. Let us think about our story. It's compelling, let's not forget the heart behind the data. His heart skipped a beat. Right, our why. I can share how it started, where the idea came from. They began to weave the narrative together, how the struggles they faced shaped the vision, each detail striking a chord not only in themselves, but in the community they wished to uplift. Tomorrow, we send a message, Sarah declared, her voice a crescendo of hope. One filled with heart. As they finally wrapped up, fatigue washed over them, but it was a good tired, like the aftermath of a long run. Mark leaned back in his chair, feeling exhausted yet alive. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm grateful for this, he said, meeting Sarah's gaze. Me too. And remember, this is just the beginning. What we start could inspire others. Mark let those words sink in. As he turned off the light, the room dimmed, but hope flickered brightly against the darkness. A tomorrow filled with challenges and possibilities awaited. But just before drifting off, one last thought prickled at him. Were they ready for what they might discover in that meeting? The storm of questions was just beginning, echoing through his mind as he closed his eyes, his heart racing with both hope and trepidation. What awaited them in that room could redefine everything they had dreamed of, or shatter it to pieces. Mark woke up abruptly, the morning sun spilling into his room like a wave of warmth and light. It felt alien after a long night of restless sleep filled with vivid dreams that blurred the lines between hope and anxiety. He rubbed his eyes and glanced at the clock. Time was slipping away, and he needed to shake off the fog that lingered around him. As he got ready, his mind flitted between the possibilities awaiting him. What would the mayor say? Would they even listen? He could almost feel the weight of the meeting pressing down on his shoulders. This wasn't just about them anymore, it was about everyone who had been silenced or overlooked. He arrived at the cafe, his chosen spot for a quick breakfast before heading to the meeting. Sarah was already there, her notepad open and coffee steaming beside her. She looked both calm and energized, a soothing presence amid his chaotic thoughts. What's the game plan? She asked, her eyes glinting with determination as he slid into the seat across from her. Mark took a steadying breath. We lay out the issues clearly. The housing crisis, mental health support. We need to show them we're not just a couple of idealists. We have data to back us up. But we also have to share our story. Make it personal. Exactly, she responded, scribbling notes. People connect with stories. They remember faces and lives, not statistics. We present facts, then we paint the picture. He admired her focus. Somehow, it made him less afraid. They spent the next half hour sharpening their thoughts, discussing how to articulate their vision succinctly but passionately. Mark couldn't help but feel a flicker of excitement rising in him, simmering just beneath the surface. His mind danced with images of the community thriving, hope stitching the fabric of lives torn apart by neglect. Before long, the hour arrived. As they stepped out of the cafe, the air felt electric with anticipation. Mark could hear the distant sounds of the city coming to life, people bustling about their routines. It was a normal Tuesday for most, but for them, today felt monumental. The town hall building loomed ahead, its imposing structure casting shadows on the sidewalk. They entered through wide glass doors, the sound of other people talking echoing in the high-ceilinged lobby. A knot tightened in Mark's stomach as they approached the meeting room. Just keep breathing, Sarah encouraged, shooting him a bright smile that felt contagious. When they walked into the meeting room, Mark's heart raced. The mayor, along with a few city officials, sat around a long table overflowing with documents and notes. They looked up as Mark and Sarah entered, some with curious expressions, others with barely concealed skepticism. Welcome, the mayor said, his voice deep and imposing. "Let us hear what you have to present today." Mark felt Sarah's hand on the small of his back, grounding him. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward, his nerves settling as he locked eyes with the mayor. "We're here representing our community," he began, the weight of words heavy in the air. "We have something vital to say." As he spoke, a surge of passion filled him, each syllable igniting a fire that had lain dormant for too long. But as the conversation unfolded, he caught glimpses of doubt across the faces in the room. Would the spark be strong enough? He took another breath, ready to unveil the story they had crafted together, the heart behind the statistics. But before he could dive deeper, the mayor interrupted. "Tell me." The mayor leaned back in his chair, a wary expression on his face. "What exactly do you believe the city can do about these issues?" The question hung heavy in the air. Mark felt his heart race again, but this time, it was different. A pang of realization hit him. This was the moment they had prepared for. With every word, he would fight for his community, for everyone who had struggled in silence. But would he find the right words to inspire change or fall short in the face of power? Hope surged within him, and he began to speak. "Too often, we forget that behind every statistic is a person," Mark started, feeling the weight of the room shift. "They're more than numbers. They have hopes, dreams, and struggles." And in that moment, he felt a shift. Were they truly ready to face the challenges ahead? The room buzzed with energy, and he realized they were right on the brink. As Mark shared their vision passionately, he could see the flicker of interest in the mayor's eyes. But would it turn into real understanding, or would their fiery dreams extinguish under the weight of indifference? In the next moment, he sensed an undeniable turning point approaching, but would it be the breakthrough they had hoped for, or another closed door? Mark's voice swelled with conviction. He painted a vivid picture of struggles, weaving personal stories of families evicted, children hungry, and veterans forgotten. Each word felt like a lifeline tossed into the stormy seas of bureaucracy. He could sense the air in the room tighten, the mayor's skepticism wavering as he leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Every single day, someone in our community struggles, and they deserve more than our pity. They deserve action," Mark continued, his eyes darting across the officials gathered. He caught sight of Sarah, her expression unwavering, and it propelled him forward. The mayor remained quiet for a moment, teeth clenching as he contemplated this unexpected urgency. Mark tried to quell the rising tension in his chest. "We need comprehensive mental health services," Mark pressed, "access to affordable housing, and job training programs to help people reintegrate into the workforce." "Those are lofty goals," the mayor remarked, raising an eyebrow as he exchanged glances with his aides. "How do you plan on funding this ambitious vision?" For a heartbeat, Mark felt the ground shift beneath him. Doubt threatened to creep back in. Was it even possible to make a dent in this wall of opposition? But in his mind, he envisioned the faces of people he had met: the mother juggling 2 jobs, the young artist hoping for a burst of inspiration that could change everything. They deserved a shot, just like anyone else. "Funding is just as crucial as vision," Sarah interjected, her voice steady. "We've researched grants and community partnerships that can help us secure resources. We've even mapped out a budget plan to monitor costs and maximize efficiency." The mayor seemed to consider this, his brows furrowing. "Community partnerships?" he asked, intrigued now. The other officials whispered among themselves, and Mark felt a sliver of hope. "Yes," Mark said, finding his footing again. "Many nonprofits are eager to collaborate. They want to support the city, but they also need the city's support. If we create this partnership, we'll transform lives. Imagine how that would reflect on this administration." Mark saw a flicker of contemplation cross the mayor's face, a crack in the armor of detachment. Could they actually influence someone who held the keys to change? The room thrummed with a shared breath, each person weighing possibility against the weight of bureaucracy. "Perhaps we can explore this further," the mayor conceded finally, his tone softer than before. But you must understand, implementing these ideas will take time and commitment. Mark breathed in deeply. Time. That was something they'd run out of for far too long. We're ready to commit. We're ready to fight for every person who feels invisible. It was both a challenge and a promise, a tether to purpose that would not fray easily. As the mayor nodded slowly, Mark felt a wave of collective relief wash over him. They had shifted the conversation. But his heart raced with hard questions. Was this enough? Could they really count on him to champion their cause, or was it merely political shadowboxing? A few minutes later, the conversation wound down, but not without the mayor saying, "I'll need to look into this, discuss it with my team." A follow-up meeting could be on the horizon. Great. It was a step, but it felt far too tentative. Mark and Sarah exchanged glances, both sensing the fragility of this moment. As they stepped out of the building, adrenaline still surging through Mark's veins, Sarah turned to him. "Do you think we made a difference today?" "Maybe. It's hard to say," he replied, his voice raw with emotion. "But we planted a seed. Now we have to nurture it." But even as he said the words, Mark's mind flickered to what they would face next. Would this seed grow roots, or would it wither under scrutiny? And what would it take to keep that spark alive? As they walked away from the town hall, the weight of uncertainty loomed large, the sky overhead a canvas of soft blues beginning to rumble with storm clouds. How could they prepare for the battle still looming on the horizon? Mark and Sarah stepped out into the bustling street, the sounds of the city swirling around them. Car horns honked, and people brushed past, lost in their own worlds. But for Mark, everything felt amplified, the rhythm of the city matching the rapid beats of his heart. "Well," Sarah said, pushing her hair back from her face. "Regardless of what happens next, that moment felt important. We got through." "Yeah, but what if it's all just talk? What if nothing changes?" Mark's voice was thick with the weight of anxiety. He kicked a pebble in frustration, watching it skitter across the pavement. "Mark, we gotta trust the process," she replied gently, placing her hand on his shoulder. "This is just one small victory. We can build on it." A quiet determination settled in his chest, pushing back the doubt. "I just wish we could do more now. Today." A flash of movement caught his eye, drawing him away from the conversation. Across the street, a young woman sat on the curb. She was wrapped in a tattered blanket, cradling a small cardboard sign that read, "Need help? Thank you." Every instinct tugged at him. He stepped closer without thinking, his body moving before his mind could catch up. Sarah followed, concerned but curious. "Excuse me," he said softly, kneeling down to meet her gaze. Her eyes were a mix of apprehension and hope. "Is there anything we can do for you?" The woman looked away, staring at the ground. Just a little change would help." Mark felt a flood of emotions surge within him: compassion, despair, determination. Yet he also felt helpless in that moment. "I don't have any cash, but we're working on some projects that could help people like you. Programs for housing and job support." She acknowledged him with a slight nod, but her gaze remained fixed downward. "Can I ask your name?" he ventured, trying to make a connection. "Lila," she whispered, almost lost in a sigh. "Lila," he repeated, savoring the sound. "We have to change the way our city supports people." "You shouldn't have to sit here, I know that," she interrupted, her voice trembling. "But no one sees us. We're invisible." Mark felt the sting of her words. He had spent countless hours advocating for change, but was it simply words to them? He wanted to shout that he knew they were out there, suffering, longing for support. "Lila, you are not invisible to me," he said, his voice earnest. "I'm not going to forget you. Together, we'll give a voice to everyone who feels lost." Her expression flickered, a trace of hope surfacing through the shadows. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely." He glanced back at Sarah, who was now observing with tear-brimmed eyes, moved by the exchange. "Let us figure out a way to connect you with the resources we're creating," Mark promised, feeling his resolve solidify. "We're in this together, and you matter. Your story matters." Lila slowly looked up, her skin glowing under the cloudy sky as if a veil was lifting. "Okay, I'd like that." As they walked away, Mark's heart swelled not only with the weight of the conversation but also with possibility. Each brick laid from this day could build something solid. The clouds were still heavy, but they felt lighter somehow. Perhaps hope was breaking through as well. "Promise me something," Sarah said as they headed back toward their office. "Promise me we won't settle for anything less than what we just said. Lila deserves to be heard." Mark met her eyes, an unspoken agreement passing between them. "We're just getting started. There's a lot to do before we can say we've made a real difference." That determination coursed through him as they re-entered the building, ready to begin making plans and pushing their agenda. But in a world filled with so many struggles, could they truly make a change? And as the storm clouds rolled in, each gust of wind whispered a question: would they find the strength to move mountains, or would the weight of reality crush their dreams? The sun peeked cautiously through the clouds the next morning, casting soft light over the now familiar streets of Chicago. Mark stood at the windows of the office he shared with Sarah, his reflection staring back as thoughts churned like the stormy sky outside. "Today is the day we take this to the next level," Sarah said, entering the room with a determined stride. Her presence filled the space with energy, igniting a hope that had flickered in him since those first moments they had met. "Absolutely," he replied, turning to face her. "We'll continue what we started with Lila. She isn't alone will bridge the gap for countless others like her." With renewed focus, they gathered their materials, each document representing a new future. They had refined their narrative. It was no longer just a project, it was a story, alive with aspirations and community spirit. Voices that had been silenced were finally being heard. As they approached the town hall once more, the building loomed like a giant guardian of bureaucracy, yet this time, it felt more like a hopeful partner than an adversary. Together, they walked side by side, fueled by the countless stories they carried, their hearts beating in a shared rhythm. "I believe today could be different," Mark said, clutching the folder filled with their community's potential. "It's not just about the mayor or the budget, this is about people wanting change." Sarah nodded, confidence pouring from her. "Exactly. Our community is not a statistic, they're families, dreams, laughter, hope. That's what we need to make them see." As they stepped into the room, a hushed tension permeated the air. The mayor and his aides were waiting, but today, there was something different in their eyes, a glimmer of curiosity where skepticism had once reigned. Mark's nerves lessened as he saw that. "Welcome back," the mayor said, a slight nod signaling both recognition and acknowledgement. "I'm intrigued to hear more about your ideas." Taking a deep breath, Mark stood tall, ready to spread the message. "Thank you for meeting us. We're here today to take an even deeper dive into how our partnership can reshape this community, one life at a time." As he spoke, Sarah leaned in beside him, interjecting with the passionate anecdotes they had collected, weaving the fabric of the community into their presentation. Stories of hope emerged, people like Lila who had been given a voice, now empowered to share their dreams with a room full of leaders. Minutes turned into an hour as they painted a vivid picture, and where there had once been silence, there was now engagement. The mayor's posture shifted, he leaned forward, absorbing their enthusiasm. Mark saw heads nodding, previously rigid expressions softening. They were listening. Then came the pivotal moment. Mark presented the roadmap, detailed proposals for funding, community partnerships, mental health awareness campaigns, all outlined clearly, passionately articulated. "And we will measure our success not by the money we pour in, but by the lives we uplift," Sarah concluded, her eyes glistening with emotion. "The heart of this project is respect. Respect for every individual as we navigate the path to recovery and rejuvenation." Silence lingered in the air, heavy yet hopeful as the mayor and aides exchanged glances. Then, the mayor smiled, a genuine, sincere smile that offered more than politeness. "I am truly impressed. This isn't just inspired talk, you've clearly done your homework. I want to help amplify these ideas." They couldn't believe it. Mark and Sarah exchanged glances full of a mix between disbelief and overwhelming joy. "Are you saying you'd support us?" Mark asked, fighting to hold back the swell of emotions. "Not just that. I believe we can create a task force to examine these ideas, collaborate with community organizations, and outline actionable steps. I want to be in partnership with you both," the mayor responded firmly. "Thank you," Sarah breathed, trying not to choke on her words as hope surged in the pit of her stomach. "This is exactly what we need." As the meeting concluded, laughter and excitement filled the room, replacing the heavy doubts they had once felt. They had taken a giant leap forward together, community and government united in purpose. As they stepped out into the sunlight, the once dark clouds began to break apart, revealing a clear blue sky. Both felt light, almost buoyant, as the weight of uncertainty lifted. "Can you believe it?" Mark said, a radiant smile breaking across his face. "This is just the beginning. Together, we have the power to change lives." Sarah beamed back. "Mark, we didn't just share a vision, we showed them who we are. We will redefine this community." With that, they knew this journey forged between them and the community was alive and strong. People would no longer be invisible, buried under layers of neglect. They would rise together, transforming their story of survival into one of resilience, dignity, and shared success. As they walked down the street, hand in hand, they sensed a new surge of purpose. Mark squeezed Sarah's hand, anchoring the moment in unity. "Let us get to work," he said with zeal. "There's so much to do. We've ignited something powerful." "Yes, we have," she exclaimed, her smile contagious. "And we're only just beginning." They stepped forward, the sun shining brightly overhead, a promise glowing brightly on the horizon, a promise of transformation, hope, and a future they would create side by side. And so it began now. If you want to be part of the next incredible journey that unfolds, subscribe immediately to the channel because you need to be the first to witness these transformations. It's time to show your support. And leave a like now, because every single click feeds the algorithm and spreads these stories further. I want you to comment below about what this journey means to you and how you plan to join in on their fire of change. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need a spark of inspiration in their lives. Be the voice that encourages change. Together, we'll rewrite the narrative.